Well, despite this getting some backlash, it's still being talked about pretty heavily for award season. So, I guess things are really looking up for this film. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about a release I'm a little late to discuss, Don't Look Up. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it, or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time, and let's talk about Don't Look Up. This stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence as two low-level astronomers who must go on a giant media tour to warn mankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth. This is written and directed by Adam McKay, and it features an all-star cast that also includes Rob Morgan, Jonah Hill, Cate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, and countless others. And since its release on Netflix, reception for this one has been all over the place. This was arguably one of the most polarizing movies of 2021, with both critics and audiences either calling it one of the absolute best or absolute worst movies of the year. Yet, despite mixed critical reception resulting in a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, it was still named as one of the top 10 films of the year by the American Film Institute, and it's still getting its fair share of awards buzz. So it's really one extreme or the other. I've rarely heard anyone say anything down the middle about it. And I guess it all comes down to how much you like McKay's approach. The film is a satire that's meant to parallel real-life approaches to natural disasters, in particular climate change, as well as the action or essentially lack of action taken towards them. Throughout the film, DiCaprio and Lawrence try presenting their search results to the White House while also attempting to get appearances on TV and try warning everyone of this impending danger, only to be met with indifference, or in some cases, they'll receive assistance from those only if they find it beneficial to them. And as soon as it no longer does benefit them, they no longer care. It's an approach that's been described by some as being too smug and heavy-handed, even by those who agree with the overall message. But for me, I thought this was great. I understand where people do come from regarding their criticisms, but I thought McKay's approach worked quite well. I'm usually one who doesn't appreciate when a film sacrifices its story and characters in service of a heavy-handed message, even if it's one that I agree with, but in this case, I didn't think that necessarily happened. This is an interesting mix, as the film can be quite absurd, with an energy level that's cranked all the way up to an 11. The majority of the cast, mainly the supporting players, feel like caricatures. In particular, you have Meryl Streep as the president, who's often involved in scandals and cares more about optics. You also have Jonah Hill as her son, who tries talking to others very casually like he's on their level, when he's actually this huge man-child that hides behind his very powerful mother. You also have Cate Blanchett and Tyler Perry as two news anchors who try way too hard to offer a positive spin on everything and water down any message. Ariana Grande also appears as a pop star who compares horrifying realities to mundane inconveniences, which is a send-up of celebrity culture itself. And then you have Mark Rylance as a tech billionaire, who's a send-up of people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, though with this odd, soft-spoken voice that makes him sound like Herbert from Family Guy. And the level of ridiculousness on display from everyone was something I found to be pretty hilarious at times. And I get because everyone's a caricature, they may seem a bit obnoxious, but I found a lot of what they said and did to be funny, especially as it felt all too real, making it something that can hit close to home. Now, a lot of it essentially is a variation of this joke where DiCaprio and Lawrence, along with Rob Morgan as a fellow scientist who helps them out and doesn't place himself as highly in the spotlight, attempting to get to the heart of the problem, only to be met by people finding new and creative ways to downplay or dance around the subject. But I found each scenario to be a unique enough spin that it allowed the jokes to never feel stale. Now, there are some recurring gags though, like if a character starts to get really worked up, you'll cut to them getting kicked out of the room or being sent away to the White House, but it also didn't feel like there was an over-reliance on these gags, and they were each used in different ways. Again, I can understand where people are coming from, where they say this style doesn't work for them, and if you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. But for me, it worked. I found the way everyone was essentially cranked up to an 11 in terms of their sheer ridiculousness outside of our leads was what made it a lot of fun. I got a lot of laughs out of all the mental gymnastics these characters go through, or the way in which they obsess over some of the most minute things as a way of getting around everything. And sure, a lot of the people in this ensemble are a bit insufferable, but you're also not being asked to root for the ones who are. We only have 3 true protagonists here, with a few supporting characters on their side, and I thought the film did a solid job at making them come off as likable, especially Jennifer Lawrence, who I thought absolutely stole the show, slowly going from someone pleasant and chipper to becoming deeply more cynical as the film goes on, on, though injecting a lot of sarcasm and wit that made her such a blast. I especially liked how, even though she becomes more jaded as the film goes on, there's still a charm to her that still made her likable and still gave us someone to root for. She also crosses paths later on in the film with Timothée Chalamet, who becomes a romantic interest for her, and while his role was brief, I thought Chalamet was another big standout, and I say that especially as someone who's not exactly a diehard Chalamet fan. This was a nice change of pace for him, in probably one of his most laid-back roles to date. He had a few great throwaway lines in there, with some solid chemistry with Lawrence, and even though his time on screen was brief, he makes it count, and it was a surprising highlight for me. I'd say my only major criticism for the film is that it can feel a tad too long here and there. We do venture into some subplots that I don't think necessarily worked. Like, we see DiCaprio get entangled too deeply with Cate Blanchett as he gets put further into the spotlight, and it puts a strain on his marriage with his wife played by Melanie Linsky. And I thought this part was just alright. I didn't find this part to be quite as funny as the rest of the film, and it really didn't add much substance. It didn't do anything for the whole comet storyline, nor did it do much to enhance anything character-wise. While DiCaprio's character is mostly likable throughout the film, with his timid, awkward stumbling being funny, I thought this was the one part of the film where that was the exception, so I think we could have done without this. And there were a few other minor tangents here and there, maybe some scenes that would go on for just a touch too long, but these were the exceptions and not the rule, as for the most part, a lot of the comedy landed well for me. It was consistently engaging, and I thought the satire was really spot on. I really enjoyed Don't Look Up, and it was one of my favorite comedies of 2021. Its mix of absurdity and horrifying reality makes for a fast-paced, hilarious allegory that also contains a pretty strong message that I appreciated. Stacked to the brim with an all-star cast, most of them get their time to shine, I had a lot of fun with this one, and while I understand where people are coming from in terms of their criticism, I thought it was an absolute blast. Don't Look Up gets a 9 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Don't Look Up, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you think this wasn't so great, or did you actually enjoy it? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.